For a person who loves film and casually talks about it with his friends, I usually don't talk about movies in this channel. Well, not as much as I want to. It's not because I don't really care or to show off or want to gatekeep or anything, but it's more because I don't know how to express them well. With that being said, there is one movie that I want to give exposure to for simply how amazing it is. Just genuinely, how a movie managed to make me permanently want to become a filmmaker myself. That's rare. Me personally, I feel like that's really rare in today's, you know, current climate, but that's besides the point. Anyways, let's talk about this 2006, nearly what's about to be 20 years old, movie by none other by the director of Parasite, Snowpiercer, Memories of Murder, Okja, and many other amazing South Korean classics. This is Bong Joon-ho's The Host. The story starts off simple as a monster movie should, despite its very, very rich in lore and, metaphorical commentary, with an American and South Korean guy in the military doing some usual scientific shit and whatnot, until the American dude decides, hey, let's just dump all this useless chemicals into the drain down into the nearby river because it's dusty or something. In which the Korean dude tells them, but people go to the river for, daily stuff. I don't give a damn, says the American. And so they just pour down the chemicals down the river. And then a couple years down the line afterwards, a giant mutated fish comes out of the river and starts wreaking havoc, especially towards a family that we follow throughout the entire movie, who loses one of their members from said creature. And so, with the whole military blocking off the area and whatnot, the four family members that we follow throughout the entire movie have to get back their youngest member while, avoiding not only the creature, but the military from, arresting them for escaping or, some propaganda bullshit that they made up just for people not to go into the river. That's basically the entire summary that I can give out without spoiling that much. You can really just watch the rest of the movie and judge it for your own. Some pros that I want to give this movie. The characters are absolutely amazing. Each and every single one of them feel like an actual human being, not stoic scientists or military people that you would see in usual monster movies from before and afterwards. No, these feel like actual human beings that do care for one another. In a way, it reminds me of Godzilla Minus One, despite that movie coming out nearly 20 years after this movie, and this movie doing it first. But even then, this movie, in a way, is comparable to that of the original Godzilla, and to an extent, the original King Kong with its human cast. They're just that amazing, honestly. I can't really state that much about all of them, besides they're just genuinely amazing. Besides the characters, the music is, oh my goodness, absolutely amazing. Genuinely, absolutely amazing. I cannot fathom how beautiful this soundtrack is. Like, go give it a listen if you haven't. It's really amazing. I'm gonna keep repeating myself like with all these pros about, oh, it's amazing, it's great. I'm sorry, but it's like everything about this movie is just genuinely beautiful. Even the poorly quality, CGI monster, despite its outdated effects, still looks amazing and impressive to this day. Like, what can I really add to the pros that haven't already been stated? It is genuinely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Now, with a great movie like this, there's gonna be some cons that I personally do not enjoy. For example, the humor. While the humor in this movie is really funny at times, and it actually kind of helps from the whole depressing angle that this movie is going for, the humor at times can feel a bit edgy, a bit awkward at times, with some moments here and there. Not that the humor is bad by any means, but in a way, it feels like there are some moments in which the humor kind of ruins the whole mood of the movie. You get what I'm saying? And not only that, but spoilers ahead, the ending of this movie, I just did not really enjoy. Kinda. I do know what Bong Joon-ho was going for with the ending, killing the daughter and everything, about a metaphor of how human innocent lives are always in the, in the brinks of danger within war and, terrible events. But at the same time, it's like the movie was literally about trying to rescue her. Wasn't that the whole fucking point of the movie? Trying to rescue the young member of the family? Why are we trying to... Why do... Yeah. It still confuses me, even like months after I've watched this movie, even though I've repeatedly watched this movie a couple times. But like this movie, with its ending, it's mixed. It's mixed. Again, I do know where Bong was going for with the ending, but overall, I just also didn't really like it for, killing off one of the major plot points of the movie. But I will say this. He may have lost his daughter, but at least he gained a son. Now, the big question that you've been asking for. How is this movie great in comparison to other South Korean kaiju films? Well, for starters, most of them just suck ass in general. I'm just gonna get that out of the way. Most of them just really suck ass. I'm sorry, Young Gary. I'm sorry, Rayshim's Young Gary. I'm sorry, Dragon Wars. I'm sorry to any other South Korean movie. Hell, even Pogasari. But those movies are meh. They're just meh. They just really don't have that much going for it besides just trying to copy off Godzilla. Or really any other famous giant monster movies that were coming out of the era. But not only that, but because this movie actually has, like I've stated before, a rich metaphorical, allegory. Again, similar to that of Godzilla 1954 or King Kong 1933, in which in this film, it's going against imperialism of the Americans. Because at the time, South Korean was getting fucked over constantly by the States. Actually, there were a couple real events that were literally thrown out in this entire movie that made fun of the way Americans handled Koreans, the way that handled the Vietnam War, the way that it handled the Iraq War. Everything about this movie is literally just a giant middle finger to the United States. But to me personally, I don't think it's just the States. I personally think it's a metaphor against, any country that acts like the States or whatnot. The Soviet Union back then, or like current, countries that act, tyrannical or very imperial to other countries and whatnot. That's what I think this movie is basically about. It's basically making fun of, government control. It's basically what's been happening right now in the States. If you really think about it, this movie still holds up to this day. In a weird twist of fate, it still holds up really well. Besides the whole, virus thing that this movie had going on that kind of resembles the coronavirus back like a couple years ago. But besides that, this movie, weirdly enough, still holds up for, you know, all the shit that's been going on recently with our current government and everything. And I don't really like getting political with any of these videos because I really don't want to, and I prefer to just talk about it in my own personal creative works instead, metaphorically. But yeah, that's basically why this movie is just so great. Not only does it beat out most giant monster movies, it's still, culturally relatively, you know, still, well, I can't speak proper words. I'm really sorry. I don't really have a script for this. Oops. But yeah, this is still culturally relevant to this day in a way. So yeah, besides the whole movie being great as a monster movie, it still holds up culturally and metaphorically for what it's trying to state. That's how Bong Joon-ho movies can be like sometimes. And really be like that. Overall, with this short ass review, I'm really sorry. I don't really have that much to add that hasn't been already stated from countless of other people. But this movie is genuinely amazing. It does have its flaws, don't get me wrong, but it's just absolutely amazing. It is that beautiful of a movie. But with that being said, it's an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 because of its few minor points that I didn't really like. But most of the movie does hold up. I will give it that. Yeah, I don't really have that much to add. It's that amazing. Um, I don't know how to end the review, so I'm just gonna leave it off as that. Bye. Also, I'd like to add a thing that actually kind of screwed over my watch of this movie when I was going through the DVD and all that. During this scene in which the brother of the family escapes from his colleague and whatnot from getting captured, the movie all of a sudden starts freezing. It's not happening right now, but it's gonna happen in like a couple seconds. You just gotta wait for it. But yeah, it kind of messed up my entire review back in like last year of May when I was watching this film. It's about to happen right now, and just you just gotta wait for like 5 seconds. Just hold on. And yeah, it just freezes just right there in that moment. That's not part of the movie. That's actually just frozen. That's really the DVD's fault. Thank God this movie's available on YouTube and Tubi. Otherwise, yeah, I just preferred if you just watch the film that way instead of just getting the DVD, since the DVDs are really old. Just wanted to share that.